So hello, everyone. Thank you for being here physically and remotely. It's nice to talk just after George because, in fact, this talk is about the opportunities we have with our platform and the state of the market and more clear example on things we've seen on the server virtualization market. So first thing first, I'm Olivier. I'm the Vates CEO and co-founder. I created Xen Project in 2013 and started XCP-ng in 2018. If you want to see those slides, they are available online on vates.io/Xen2022. So quickly, before going on the more broad topic of the market around the virtualization, a kind of quick recap on what is XCP-ng. So it's a friendly fork of Citrix hypervisor, formerly Xen server. It's entirely free and open source, and it's obviously based on Xen as its core. We are hosted inside the Xen project, and one of the important differentiator about XCP-ng is just one component into a more global solution with, as I said, Xen Orchestra, which is a kind of centralized console that you can use to manage all your machines from one web UI, CLI, API, and so on. So centralized thing connected to your entire infrastructure. And also, very quickly regarding the business model, it's very simple. It's, I would say, a la Red Hat. So it's support per host and per year. So it's fully open source, no paywalls, and so on and so on. So what about the trends we are seeing in the server virtualization market? That's the kind of just the following after what George said. We really had a kind of pivot this year. Obviously, VMware with Broadcom was truly something really big for this market, maybe one of the biggest events in the recent years. But it's more like, I would say, a kind of the latest news. But since the last 2-3 years, Microsoft announced they will replace Hyper-V by Azure HCI, pushing people to the cloud. Red Hat is pushing for using other kind of platforms that are more application orchestration platforms like OpenShift. So somehow most of the biggest players in the on-prem virtualization markets somehow left this market. So it can cause a kind of, stars alignment for us as with our solution combined not just with XCP-ng, but the whole stack around it. So why? So right now, as we speak, all around the world, there's a lot of IT teams trying to seek for alternative to their existing stacks. And the reasons, there's 3 main reasons. The first one is now people started to realize that being heavily dependent on one vendor is very risky because it's this big vendor. For example, VMware is trying to shift its pricing policy and things like that, then they're kind of, like ducks in the water. So they decided to try to seek for alternative. And they usually, when we talk with them a lot, they are seeking for a solution they can trust. Basically, a solution where when they decide to invest into it, they won't have any big surprises. And it's not really easy to find that when you are not open source, obviously, because you can be acquired and things could happen and so on, product could be killed. So it's really good to be open source in this situation. And also another thing, which struck me when I had discussed with a lot of people running, for example, on old version of VMware, basically, if they just want to keep up, meaning by that still have support, they have to move up to, let's say, more recent versions. But while doing that, they'll have to leave their previous pricing model. They need to get new hardware. They have features they don't care for it, but they pay for it. So all of these 3 points could be, I would say, somehow mitigated by using a product which is open source, and that's something we can answer as being fully open for XCP-ng project. For example, not just the code is open, obviously, but the project, the community, we've got an upstream first philosophy, and the pricing is also completely open and transparent. It's not a contact us, it's just you have the pricing, number of hosts, that's very simple. The other thing which is interesting with our platform is being integrated, meaning you don't have to assemble yourself a solution. It's already fully integrated, central API, backup, and so on. So that's a way where we could even compare some bits between VMware and XCP-ng. Some components could be compared in terms of architecture, helping people to make the transition. Okay, so that's the theory. So have we seen a real impact? So that's where numbers are truly important. Just to show you a bit this graph where you can see the number of visitors we have on our websites. And if you can spot those areas, that's May and June. And that's exactly where the end of May, Broadcom announced the acquisition of VMware. And that's not a coincidence. And it means this creates a new baseline to us because, you know, people seeking alternative, browsing websites, coming back and so on, starting to get information. So it truly had a visible impact. And the most visible one, which is also truly interesting in the life of our platform, double click. So this is on Xen Orchestra. If you want to try the solution, you can go on our website, enter your email, download it, try and so on. You can obviously go on GitHub, build it yourself. You have all the features. But on our website, you have a virtual machine with everything pre-installed, so you can test it very quickly, which is convenient. So you drop your email, and then you get the solution. So this is the list of unique emails on active accounts registered on our Xen Orchestra websites since 2015. So we got mainly 3 trends that are really interesting to give you on what's going on this market. So the first trend is where Xen Orchestra was only an interface or web management tool on top of Citrix hypervisor, Xen server. So the trend went a bit downward. Then in 2018, we decided to fork and create XCP-ng. And as you can see, that's the trend number 2. It changes a lot for Xen Orchestra projects because obviously now we got new people interested, kind of momentum, more people in the community and so on. And the number 3, as you might guess, the huge spike here is last June. So it's another coincidence, maybe or not, that a lot of VMware users were suddenly seeking for alternatives. So it just means that at some point, a lot of people decided to go to search for other solution. It's not a guarantee that they will use it, but at least now they are aware there's other alternatives. So what we did with XCP-ng since the fork, so now it's 4 years ago, we, I think, achieved what we call the critical mass for the community. It means there's enough people on forums, on different channels we are using to help each other without our own assistance, which means self-sustaining, which is great. And as usual with, for example, social networks and things like that, it's kind of snowball effect, you know, more you have people following you, more it's growing faster and faster and so on. So we got a way to reach a lot of people, which is interesting and also means that right now at this time, we have something big enough, I would say, to have some impact with the recent news on the virtualization market. Also, we managed to go into a guide which is used by a lot of execs that are reading this kind of market guide, for example, for server virtualization. So being put into those guides is truly helpful to not just convince the technical teams, but also people who are deciding to adopt or not the platform. So it's also truly important to be able to convince the top management. Obviously, it's not just the end of the journey, but just the start. There's things we could improve since we have a new kind of, people coming to us, like a lot of VMware Hyper-V people. We have to adapt the way we are communicating with them to explain what is open source. So it's a bit different. It's kind of my work, changed a bit in the last year or 6 months, but that's truly interesting. So obviously, there's a lot of things to do outside even the technical aspects. Clearly, now we want to hire a lot of new people to be able to keep up for technical aspects, but even, outside this. But we truly think there's a lot of room to succeed. So all of that is for our project, but what does this actually mean for the Xen project? And this is where I think it's interesting. So to me, there's 2 consequences. The basic one, which are if we do nothing, there are still things, in the package where if XCP-ng is more and more present on the markets. The fact is, first, when we communicate about our platform, we talk about Xen. And when you do that a lot, people start to forget about, the sentence almost everyone heard in the last 10 years that Xen is dead. So it's harder and harder to believe because more people are hearing about recent stuff released and so on and so on. So the communication we do on top with our platform makes Xen is dead harder to believe, which is, I think, important. Also, it means as we build our partner network, it could be hardware, software, integrators, resellers, then Xen is to more different places, more people are using it. So especially on the server virtualization market, it helps to be still relevant and still have, tests, compatibility on different kind of hardware. Since we have a huge community, it means people will try to install Xen on very small machines, NUCs and things like that, but also, the corporate users that will use it on very big servers. So I think this kind of having a bigger user base could help just by being there, help the Xen project. But beyond that, obviously, there's the, let's say, active consequences for the Xen project, where as the XCP-ng goal, when we asked to enter inside the Xen projects, inside the Linux Foundation, we wanted to really build the bridge between the end users that are using the platform as a kind of turnkey product and the Xen developers. So that's why we want to bring more things for the Xen project, like giving a good feedback on what's used. So I will do that in a few slides on the field. So what's needed for the users. Also maybe help on when we found bugs on our side to try to translate them and try to go deeper in investigation, maybe able to reproduce them. And then when we ask Xen level, we'll have something pretty easy to grasp, to identify, or even to see which commit, which regression caused the problem and so on. The other way is obviously to contribute to the Xen code base, which is the obvious way to contribute. Our team is growing and we are ramping up on having more people contribute to the Xen project. It takes some time, but we are making some visible efforts right now. We have some research and development project also that might help to finance some interesting projects that could be directly integrated in Xen. And I think the third point is also very important. Is contributing outside the code of the Xen project, but more globally on the project itself. Like George said previously, we have someone, Mark, who is giving some of its time to help to track projects, working with the release manager, helping everyone to sort things out. And also the second thing is to have more communication about Xen, because as we've seen, it's important. For example, if you do one blog post, I think 3 weeks ago, being in front page of Hacker News, it helped people to realize that Xen is there. They are doing a lot of security work. Oh, that's great. That's important. And I think that's part of the active consequences for the Xen project while we succeed with our platform. So just to give you a quick list of things we've seen, obviously we can go into the details later if we want to make design sessions or things like that. So it's not meant to discuss that right now, but give you an idea on things we've seen, we've heard from people using virtualization platform. We've seen an increase in it's not ordered, so there's not a priority whatsoever, but just an overview. Windows guests are requiring more and more nested virtualization for a lot of different reasons. I'm not sure to understand exactly, but in the end, it's Hyper-V to enable some security features, and even Docker requires at some point to get Hyper-V enabled, and it doesn't work really well right now in Xen. VTPM stuff, so Windows 11 needs to get a TPM, so there's some work done as we speak in the Xen project. Putting Xen in EFI, working with iPXE, because obviously big, I would say, users that want to deploy, let's say, cloud providers that want to use Xen at scale, we need to have some ways to use it in an efficient manner. For example, we are partnering with I think it's Equinix Metal. It's an offer where they just, can get access to servers and install whatever you want, and having a way to simplify the installation of our platform on those machines could help to people to just, I want to install Xen XCP-ng on this machine next, and that's, instantiated, which is, I think, important to get more people using it. Host secure boot, VM memory encryption. So that's more for those cloud provider that want to use this solution internally. They want to have a higher level of isolation, and in general, they are, they like Xen for the security aspects. So continuing this work, I think, is a good thing. There's some issues around different things like PCI pass-through with NVMe, and obviously some work to have better integration of, let's say, modern metrics stacks with Xen, so having compatibility with open metrics, being able to export to Prometheus, things like that. But again, that could be discussed in future sessions. On our side, regarding platforms, so it's not directly related to Xen, but also to give you kind of a landscape of what people are expecting from a virtualization platform, a modern virtualization platform. Obviously, tools to migrate from the existing solution, because if you have some manual scripts and so on, that's fine for people with 5, 10 machines, but if you have hundreds of machines, you need something. So we are working on that. Storage part is more and more important, and as you can imagine, kind of hyper-convergence things, or being able to connect to modern storage, talking to the API for storage directly. In very short, the trend is either manage the storage or either push it out and leave the storage, do whatever you have to do and keep the DOM zero small. That's why we're working, for example, on research projects using data processing units that are, kind of offload the main CPU to do all the IOPS into the small card. More integration with containers workflow, so it's more a question of API building glue around things, but that matters a lot for the end product. And on network side, there's also a lot of things. For example, in XCP-ng, we've got an Open vSwitch integrated inside the DOM zero, but we need to go even beyond that. So we are starting to think about maybe network domains, or orchestration of virtual firewalls and so on, because now on modern platform, people, sysadmins don't want to configure themselves the firewalls. They just want to be in their central virtualization console and say, I want to isolate this zone, and then the platform is doing everything for you. So we can do that. It's a matter of glue, organizing, orchestration, but that's one of the important trends. Okay, so what's next? So with the Xen project, things we want to do with the Xen project is obviously contribute more to the code, try to help on the bottlenecks we could maybe identify in the Xen project. We had multiple discussions during community meetings about the fact that reviewing is one of potential bottlenecks, because there's a lot of people pushing stuff, but then you have to review it. Maybe the code that is, for example, if you don't know the Xen project, you want to make a first contribution, maybe you will have a lot of difficulty to do that, but also your code will be probably trash, and so you'll have to go back, but this also has tolls on people doing the review. So having a good documentation could be a way to reduce that burden. So we'll be happy to discuss that in a design session, and how we could help to build something that could get the process that would be easier for everyone. Continue to move forward in project tracking, like we did with Mark. Continue to improve the workflow, being more efficient, more transparent, and so on. And there's the last item, which could be have to be thought, which could be important, is trying maybe to discuss with different companies contributing to the Xen project, but not at the developer level, but maybe at the product, or how you are using Xen and what do you want to do with Xen, and maybe talk with those people in dedicated sessions to try to understand if maybe there's some synergies that could be done, or maybe there's I also want to do this, and me too, and so on, and then decide to invest more resources, maybe hire people and so on. So that could also help to have a focus from the companies. That now developers are talking together, but that's it. We want to kind of, have a bigger perimeter, and having also product managers, or I don't know how you can call them, but people that are actually using Xen in their product to understand a bit more how the project is working and if they can help in some way. So on our side, we got a roadmap. We have plenty of things to do, obviously, but what, in my opinion, matters is the fact that we'll continue to try, at least, to transform this big opportunity we had. So we had the chance to start XCP-ng 4 years ago. So we had our process, our building things, and so on. So we are kind of ready to try to answer, I would say, the call. And more we succeed, more we have resources to invest also into the Xen project, not just into the platform, because we are truly aware that Xen is the core of the product, and we have to work with the Xen community to make things even better. So in conclusion, there is something happening right now in the server virtualization world. It's visible in our stats. It's visible with the number of people we are talking to every day, people coming from other platforms. And I think we don't have to be shy on the quality of the things the community built with Xen and Xen server, XCP-ng, and so on. Because when you heard about horror stories people had with Hyper-V or even VMware, then, I mean, it works. So the product is good. Xen is, in my opinion, one of the best candidates to fill that void left by VMware, Hyper-V, and so on. We have the chance that, again, the stars of the line. We have a good momentum with XCP-ng already a bit before the Broadcom announcement, but we can use that momentum to convert those users. And it means that we truly want to share that success with Xen, as I said, contributing to the code base, help the projects, help the visibility for Xen, grow the ecosystem with vendors, partners, etc. And so that's why we have some session this afternoon to talk about some of those topics. And if you want to, after this talk today, to come to talk about anything related to our platform, we'll be truly happy to discuss that together. So that's it for me. If you have questions, feel free to go ahead. Thank you. No question? Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we have a break now until 10:30. So the next section will be, there'll be 2 different rooms. So I'm told that the original plan was to try and partition these rooms, but apparently that takes it's too much of a hassle. Well, anyway, the current plan, although it may change because Robert's giving me skeptical looks here, is for the Fitzwilliam room to be moved to a different place on the other side. So I think just keep an eye out for that. If you're virtually, then then you're totally fine. You're going to do anything. Great. Well, thank you, and remember to send me your slides in PDF form if you haven't already. And we'll see you at 10:30.